Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. If you're absolutely in love with the New York Knicks like I am, I recommend clicking that red subscribe button down below and lighting up that post notification bell so you do not miss any future content on this channel. As you guys know, the New York Knicks do not play tonight, but I thought it'd be a good idea to give you guys my thoughts and analysis on what the New York Knicks are building. Am I in love with what the New York Knicks are building? Do I like some things about what the Knicks are building? You know, I'm kind of mad about the Knicks. There's some things I like, or there's some things I don't like, or I'm just in the category that I think the Knicks are trash. They have no future. They have no present day, and they're just going to be sold as soon as tomorrow, and they stink. No, that's definitely not the way I think at all. But I do understand there are some Knicks fans that are pretty pessimistic about this team and not very optimistic because they're like, yes, we went to the second round of the playoffs, but Jalen Brunson just may be a very good number two. I do completely understand that maybe you need another star next to Jalen Brunson. I do think we need another star, but Jalen or Julius Randle not stepping up in the playoffs again is worrisome. I know he was on an injury, but in game 2 he was good enough to put up 23 points, and then he just was very inconsistent in the playoffs. He went on to re-injure himself. I understand in the Cleveland series, there's that. But when it comes down to the effort, when it comes down to the attitude out there on the basketball floor, competing defensively, he didn't have any positives when it came to that, and it was just extremely disappointing to see out of someone who was able to make the All-Star team. But when you just take a look at this team, I still think there's some excitement. I understand there's some Knicks fans that aren't in love with Tom Thibodeau's offense and how it could be ancient. But, I'm a younger Knicks fan. I'm 19 years old. I've seen this team go to the playoffs 3 times. And I believe I've been watching this team since I was 8 years old. And I've seen the Knicks go to the playoffs in 2013. The Carmelo Anthony days, J.R. Smith, Tyson Chandler, even more, led by Mike Woodson, Carmelo Anthony. And then after that, I had to wait a good amount of time, or we all did, 2020 to 21 season, the virus year, less of a crowd, but the crowd eventually came in the playoffs, led by Elfrid Payne at point guard. No, I'm kidding, but Julius Randle, all-star year. First year of Tom Thibodeau, and then most recently the 2022 to 23 season, which is probably the most exciting Knicks team that I have seen. Which is kind of sad, you could say, for some Knicks fans that were able to see the 90s Knicks. Actually see the Knicks go to the finals with Charles Oakley, Patrick Ewing, and even more on that roster, Anthony Mason, rest in peace. But when it came down to the youth and how there was a little more future than that 2013 team, yeah, I felt this past season's team definitely did bring a lot more excitement. But giving you guys my thoughts on this overall job Leon Rose has done so far, obviously Leon Rose took over back in RJ's rookie year, and it was kind of the halfway point, or kind of towards the end of the season. I remember Leon Rose being in the crowd with Scott Perry, who's actually not a member of the New York Knicks anymore, which is crazy to say. Gerson Rosas got bumped up, a rank when it comes to the New York Knicks management. But I remember Leon Rose sitting in the crowd. We have headband RJ versus the Houston Rockets, drove on the left side, and was able to finish over PJ Tucker with physicality. And I remember PJ Tucker fell. It was a huge bucket down the stretch versus the Houston Rockets. And the New York Knicks were extremely bad that season, but Mike Miller took over, and Leon Rose did do his due diligence. He was going to look at everyone. He wasn't going to be extremely biased because Mike Miller did better than David Fizdale with that same roster. Yes, he was playing some of the older guys, but he was looking out for his job security of maybe he could be the head coach the upcoming season, or he could be an assistant coach elsewhere, which has definitely worked out for Mike Miller. Julius Randle, IQ-wise, defensively wasn't in great shape. There was no structure, so the blame wasn't completely on Julius Randle's first year with the Knicks, but some Knicks fans want him gone. The late costly turnovers, spinning into double teams, looking like a Beyblade out there. Just not a very exciting team, to be completely honest with you guys. There wasn't completely young, promising pieces, Mitchell Robinson, but we were at the point, it's like, do we have the coach to get the most out of him? So we were kind of in a negative mood a little bit because there was no stability, because there was no overall culture for the New York Knicks. But Mike Miller does a pretty good job. We end up with the 8th pick in the draft, which is kind of a weaker draft, especially when you look back at it. I know there was LaMelo Ball, I know there was Anthony Edwards, but there was also James Wiseman in that draft. Onyeka Okongwu, he's a very solid player. I'm looking for his role to be expanded, but there was also Killian Hayes in that draft. Jalen Smith's kind of a promising young player, but he kind of went later. You also take a look at that Isaac Okoro, you could say, went early, but yeah, Isaac Okoro and Killian Hayes are the main guys probably I'm thinking about there, but also the Knicks. Obi Toppin could be a promising player for the Pacers, but his role with the New York Knicks just was not there. But we were looking to trade Julius Randle. He was even in some talks. You draft Obi Toppin, it's like, oh shit, this is Julius Randle's replacement. But Randle works his ass off, gets in great shape, becomes a better three-point shooter, has a better versatile bag, competes defensively, is facilitating, and then Obi's role goes down. And when you don't play much defense, and Obi definitely did not have an expanded bag coming out of Dayton, and for someone that was a four-year seasoned collegiate player, it's like, damn, this guy still has a lot to work on. He's kind of like a 4-year project. But we're Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau on the same page there. Thibodeau loves defense, and Obi Toppin was a CAA client, which is the agency of Leon Rose, and he can run the floor very well, but that might not be Tom Thibodeau's slow, grinded out style of play, if you know what I'm saying. So that pick didn't really work out. You could say when it came to his role, kind of lack of movement in the offense sometimes, that's on the Knicks, but also Obi could have done better developing his game individually to perform out there on the basketball floor, because who Leon Rose nailed on with the draft pick was Emmanuel Quickley with the 25th overall pick. And he was good value for the 25th overall pick. He had a very solid rookie year, and Tom Thibodeau did give him some action. And I'll say that I thought Tom Thibodeau was the right hire.
If you were looking to bring someone in and see if you could win basketball games right away with this current roster and see if they're capable of forming winning habits, but who I wanted at the time, I was thinking kind of long-term development-wise, thinking organically, drafting and developing. I was thinking of Kenny Atkinson. Obviously, Kenny Atkinson didn't prove like a ton when it came to like, he didn't win a championship or go very deep in the playoffs, but I was a fan of what he was doing with young players in Brooklyn when they had Jared Allen, when they had D'Angelo Russell, when they had those younger players that were starting to develop and get better. He was definitely my first choice, like organically, but I do think Tibbs was the right hire to come in and bring that stability right away.
When Leon Rose took over, like his first tenure with the Knicks, I thought that was a right, smart decision, that he was probably thinking of it like, I don't know if maybe he was thinking of it like this, but Thibodeau may never win you a championship. You may not go to the finals with him or win one, but he's going to set the culture. This team has had no stability, no one to hold them accountable. For someone to set the culture, get this team to play hard defensively, which has been the gritty Knicks 90s teams, and you got to play defensively anyway. You got to be this tight-knit group. Tom Thibodeau came in, demanded these guys to work hard, and you got to see guys elevate their games. You got to see them elevate their game. We wanted Randall gone. Randall elevates his game, gets the big-time role over Obi, goes to the All-Star game. He took us to the dance. We have Elfrid Payton, the same damn near roster. Elfrid Payton is your starting point guard, not even in the league anymore. Reggie Bullock's a good standstill three-point shooter, good defender, but your second option was RJ Barrett, who we're asking to form winning habits in his second year. That's not easy for someone that had a good amount of volume at Duke. To form winning habits, become better as a three-point shooter. 40% from three. Randall shot extremely well. Mitchell Robinson was developing more when it came to his discipline-wise. Derrick Rose, eventually we brought over halfway through the season, but we have Taj Gibson. We have Quickley that's producing a little bit as a rookie. You have Obi. So you have these veterans with a combination of young players that it's like, oh, the future's kind of bright. And coaching alone, it was mostly coaching. The coaching job Tom Thibodeau did that season was amazing. And because we didn't see a lot of success recently, we were kind of overlooking some things that maybe were critiques or negatives about the team, but we were just so in the moment, like, this team's amazing. Tom Thibodeau is a savior. Julius Randle runs New York. He's the next big thing in New York. F Porzingis. Maybe a lot of Knicks fans were thinking. But we're the 4th seed that season. We're the 4th seed. We're ahead of the Atlanta Hawks, the 5th seed. We take on the Atlanta Hawks. We lose in 5. Trae Young outplays us. The floor spacing of that team, Bogdanovich, the facilitation by Trae Young, got dominated on the glass. Mitch actually did not play, though, because Nerlens Noel was there. Mitchell Robinson went on to get hurt, did not play in the playoffs. I should have said that. Was having a solid season, but Nerlens Noel's security blanket comes in, does a solid job. But the Hawks straight up were better, more physical on the glass, and we had lack of shot creators. The offense did not look good at all. But it was like we won a playoff game, kind of overachieved when it came to roster-wise. You need the players. Randall didn't step up. But it was like maybe we shouldn't be really concerned because there was no one to really take pressure off of Randall. We're asking a lot from Randall. We're asking a lot from a young RJ Barrett. We're asking a lot for some players on this team that may not be built for the big stage. There was some maneuvering with Elfrid Payton. We took him out of the lineup, finally put in Derrick Rose, but it didn't matter. But it was an exciting season. We set the culture. RJ averaged 17 points per game, was better defensively. He was forming winning habits, shot it well from 3. Randall was an all-star. It's like this dude's only going to work harder. And get better for the New York Knicks. Mitchell Robinson as well. Quickly could develop. Obi could develop. We have some promising talent. We get a point guard. Holy shit, watch out. Watch out, ladies and gentlemen. And it definitely was a disappointing upcoming offseason when it came to the results. I do like what some of Leon Rose did, that he was like, all right, if we're winning, like we're bringing back some stability on this roster that we usually don't do. We're bringing back, like, of the past history the Knicks don't do. We're bringing back Taj Gibson. We're gonna bring back. I believe they brought back. Yeah, they brought back Nerlens Noel as well. They brought back Derrick Rose. It's like we want some veterans in this locker room to help lead the young guys, and let's address the point guard position. It's low risk, high reward, but let's go on to sign Kemba Walker. It wasn't a lot of money, but the Knicks were hoping he was at least a little 60% of what he was in Charlotte. Let's get a point guard for at least a couple years. He had that fantastic game versus the Wizards. He had 40 points, but we went on to lose in Knicks fashion. Randall goes off. RJ goes off. Doesn't matter. We go on to lose. Stinks. I don't know why. It's just like the rest of the team doesn't step up. But his knees were shot, unfortunately. Not the same player. Not the same level of explosion. Not even close. Had some good moments, but he just couldn't keep up health-wise. Derrick Rose couldn't either that season. But Kemba Walker's not even in the league anymore, but he's getting his bag overseas. Credit to him. But it's like, oh, RJ year 3. We'll see how he does. Randall as well. We let Reggie Bullock walk, which hurt us defensively, but it was like, oh, we get some upgrade offensively, though, with an Evan Fournier. That didn't work out. Fournier was amazing opening night versus Boston, only against Boston, because the shooting splits went down like against everyone else. Shot selection wasn't good. I didn't like that we barely used him in movement when he did play, but I just didn't get it where the Knicks on the same page there, Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau. Fournier doesn't play any defense. Tibbs wants guys that can play defense. So I really wonder how much discussion there is there. That was just not a good season, though. With Kemba not consistently staying healthy. When he did play, he wasn't that great, especially how bad he is defensively. Doesn't move the same. RJ averaged more points, but he got it to a very shaky start. Was not very efficient. Randall sucked when it came to like expectations of coming off of an all-star year. He still put up points, but his efficiency dipped. His attitude was terrible. He was thumbing down the crowd. And once you do that in New York, you're done. You're cooked, or at least we thought. But he was still putting up points, but his shot selection was awful. His efficiency from downtown went down. Obi's barely playing. Quickly's getting action, but we thought he was going to have an expanded role. All the encouragement of the past season went down. It's like, what happened to this Knicks team? We start 6-1 and we fall apart. We wanted Quickly's development. We thought Quickly's development was going to be even better. And the most disappointing thing was Tom Thibodeau's lost. Like, he's not holding himself accountable. Randall's not playing that well. His attitude is terrible, and you're soft on the guy, even though I do believe certain players need different treatment because some guys are more sensitive or just a little more emotional. Not saying I completely agree with that. But I was like, all right, this season's not going anywhere. Tibbs, play the young kids. Play the freaking young kids. And it was a wash of a year. We don't go to the playoffs. We're extremely mediocre. And I thought that was going to be our future. We're not looking to play these young guys. Why would we draft Obi 8th overall, especially with Randall playing bad? At least see what, yeah, we did give him shots, but there was just certain points in the season that it's like kind of out of it. And Obi just literally got 12 minutes. Like, he literally just had 12 minutes. But I liked what we did in the draft. Like, we got good value, but Grimes was barely playing. 25th pick. Was exciting in the summer league. McBride too, and Sims. Sims could jump out of the gym, set solid screens. For the 58th overall pick, he's a decent player, but he's extremely raw. McBride's a beast defensively. His offensive game's starting to come around now, maybe, but he wasn't getting much action. I'm like, play Grimes. Like, this dude can shoot the rock. He competes hard defensively. He gets deflections. He's a solid facilitator, but we didn't see consistency of that consistently at all, and it was a wash of a season. It was just not an exciting season at all. Maybe he had some solid moments like opening night, but that was the highlight of that season. So then you enter this most recent season, the New York Knicks' most successful season since 2013, going to the second round of the playoffs. I didn't expect that entering that season. My expectations were going down. I was like, all right, looking at Thibodeau's offense, how is anyone supposed to thrive in this? There's no type of rhythm. It's a bunch of read and react. There's less movement or not a lot of movement at all for a modern day offense. It's interior based defensively, lack of communication, no chemistry. He lost these guys. Like, I was thinking that. And I just didn't think it was a really disciplined group the past season, before this past season, because they couldn't produce offensively or defensively. So I was kind of down on the team. I was like, we still don't have a freaking point guard. RJ's like he's a good player maybe in this league, or a solid player, but for the third overall pick, maybe we expected more. Randall, his attitude's bad. We want this guy gone again. Quickly's development maybe wasn't going up as much as we thought. Obi as well. So we're starting to think like, oh, this team's just a wash. But it's crazy to think just one big move helped us. Because we didn't do much in the draft. We did maneuvering in the past draft when we got Grimes. We did a lot of trading back. Oh, we thought we had Keon Johnson trade. We thought we had Kai Jones trade. By the way, I hope Kai Jones gets help mentally. I don't want to label anything, but it seems like he's not doing okay. Like, I think he needs help. I think that's one of the main reasons the Hornets waived him, but don't quote me on that. But we didn't have any draft picks. We had one, went on to select Trevor Kills really late in the draft out of Duke, not on the team anymore, was playing in the summer league. And I think Leon Rose does a lot of that maneuvering to trade back to get these cheaper salaries to give us more flexibility within the cap. Obviously now, Jalen Brunson's paid. Quinn Grimes still on rookie contract, but RJ Barrett paid. Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson quickly will be paid. I don't know when. It may not even be before this season. But he will be. He's our most versatile offense player, brings shit defensively, but he needs to step up in the playoffs. They did a really good job rushing him in the playoffs, the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Miami Heat, when he was healthy in that series. But those main guys have pretty much gotten paid for the New York Knicks. But we didn't do anything in the draft, and some Knicks fans were like, they really believe in these players? Like, they really believe in these players? We're not going to draft anyone? It's like, we still can't develop shit. What is this? Well, Jalen Brunson, beast out of Villanova, 3-year player, wins all these awards, goes in the second round somehow. Goes in the second round. It could have been lack of explosion, that he won't be a good finisher, and it's ironic because he's terrific now. He's on the shorter end, he's not athletic, but they didn't look at that this dude's a winner, has great footwork, has been learning from his dad that was in the NBA, played with the Supersonics, played for the Chicago Bulls, has been a coach, played with the New York Knicks. Jalen Brunson grew up a Knicks fan. But kind of up and down at the beginning. His rookie year showed some ability, but he got a decent amount of action because of some injuries. But his second year, his minutes went down. But eventually he started to prove himself to stay healthy, become more disciplined as a player, did become a sixth man at one point and became a sixth man of their candidate. Jason Kidd comes in, really believes in Brunson, averages 16 points per game. You're going next to Luka. And this dude showed he's a freaking dog. He was producing, but he's producing next to Luka. Oh, Luka takes all the pressure off of him. He's not that good. He can't be a franchise point guard. The Knicks overpaid for him. He obviously stepped up in the playoffs in the first round, but it's just not enough of a sample size, even though he absolutely killed Donovan Mitchell, who ironically the Knicks were supposed to get this past offseason. The Knicks stink. They're going to lose Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs and all that, and it's crazy how the tables have turned. But Brunson was way more than just solid. Yes, the first couple months, he was solid. Like, his three-point percentage was higher than his overall field goal percentage, but he was still averaging 18 to 19 points per game, 7 assists in those first couple months. But I had you think, like, this is his worst basketball. This dude's work ethic's already at a whole other level. And when he's come in, he's gone to work. He hasn't demanded excellence from everyone. He's showed his work and shows, like, I could be a leader. I'm a good player here. I want to win just like all of you guys. I'm not going to be pushy or anything like that. But it's just thinking like, oh, this is worse basketball. This dude's humble. He's a great leader. But at the same time, he's extremely confident. He's built for New York. He understands how to handle the media. And what was it, from January to April, or those last few months, averaging 27 to 28 points per game. His shooting splits were ridiculous. He's hitting clutch shots down the stretch. His footwork out of the post. Facing you up at his 6'1" guard, using physicality to work downhill, being one of the most efficient guards in the league, finishing at the basket, shooting it from three-level scorer, just an absolute killer out there on the basketball floor. All he wants to do is win games. He averaged 24 points per game, 6 assists, shot over 40% from three. Just the overall efficiency from the field. It's brilliant getting to the free throw line, but the up and unders, the craftiness, the sidestep threes, shooting fadeaways over taller players. He was just terrific. He looked like a damn near superstar, at least the last few months, but overall that season, but for him to not be named an all-star, I love Tyrese Halliburton, but like, come on. Jalen Brunson should have been named an all-star. So Brunson's amazing. You have RJ Barrett that's still up and down, but he starts to figure things out a little bit. Julius Randle, who we wanted gone, it just seems like whenever there's motivation, this dude bounces back. Julius Randle is an all-star again. Obviously wasn't the prior season, but the season before he was. And we look at Randall like, is this dude better defensively? Does he have a better IQ? Like better IQ? He's playing with more physicality, has a better in and out game. He's not shooting it officially from three, still taking 8 threes. But it's like, maybe we have a different Randall here. He's checked himself mentally, and he's like, I'm all good. I've learned. Mitchell Robinson's even more disciplined. He's a beast on the offensive glass. You know, Fournier wasn't working out as a starter. Cam Reddish wasn't. We did trade for him, which is a ridiculous trade the prior season. Because, yeah, it was low risk, high reward, but it's just like he hasn't worked out for anyone. But I hope he works out in LA. We'll see what goes on to happen. But Grimes gets an opportunity at the starting 2 spot. And that's when I knew Tibbs was starting to get a little serious. It's like Grimes is a younger player. He's probably going to have some growing pains. We kind of know what we're getting with Fournier, but Grimes provides more upside on both ends of the basketball. There's still room to grow. When we had Grimes out there, when we had Brunson, when we had RJ, Randall, Mitch, this team was exciting. They're exciting. Grimes struggled shooting the basketball a couple months, but he eventually got it going, shooting 38% from 3. Again, Mitch was dominating quickly, who I had questions about, what kind of player is he really? His floaters weren't going down. He was not shooting good shots. He was shooting bad shots early in the shot clock. This dude changed his entire game for the better. He finished with physicality instead of just floaters. He was drawing fouls like an absolute beast like he was year one. The patience, the probing around, coming off screens, knocking down mid-range shots, knocking down threes from the outside, facilitating, being a beast on defense. 6th Man of the Year candidate, second in voting behind Malcolm Brogdon. Terrific. It's awesome seeing that from a young guy quickly, seeing Grimes start, that it's like we have these young pieces, we're competing right now, but we also have a future. I absolutely just love that feeling. Sims got some action at times due to injuries, but Hartenstein setting good screens, rolling hard to the basket. He's a good teammate, can get caught flat-footed at times defensively. But you trade for Josh Hart throughout the season, shoots ridiculously well from 3, like 50-something%, but he's a beast on the boards. He pushes the pace to get Obi involved on offense, to find him for lobs. Like, he's a good facilitator, he's a beast defensively, he clogs the lanes very well. And that was Jalen Brunson's teammate at Villanova. It's good to have that culture. It's a different level of work when you take your work very serious, but you're also working with people you love and you have chemistry with. We had Ryan Arcidiacono at one point. We waived him, but he's back on the roster. We signed Dante DiVincenzo this past offseason. But that season was just so terrific and so much fun, seeing the growth from the players, seeing the fresh mindsets and attitudes. That Tibbs was changing a little bit because he was like, I don't care that Fournier's a veteran. We need defense. We need shooting and a little more athleticism that could, if someone is closing out, they're athletic enough to drive to the basket, facilitate, and open up things for the offense by finishing. And you got to give credit to Tibbs there. Got to give credit to Leon Rose. He found freaking Jalen Brunson. Or he went on to sign Jalen Brunson. You could say there was some tampering involved, but we did get him at the end of the day. And then you also take a look at Hartenstein, very solid signing. So Leon Rose did have a bounce back. He did have a bounce back. We do not go to the second round of the playoffs if it isn't for Jalen Brunson. So when you look at this team, we go on to take on the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round. We're the 4th seed, taking on the 5th seed. The playoffs is starting to get to the point, just get there. And the Knicks mopped the floor with the Cavs in an ugly fashion. Neither of these teams shot the 3-ball very well, but the Knicks were the much more physical team. Mitchell Robinson was a beast on the offensive glass, was solid defensively as well. He literally had Jared Allen and Evan Mobley in a jail cell. Jalen Brunson cool, calm, and collected down the stretches of games. Rockin' said he was asleep. Isaac Okoro, it didn't matter what personnel was scoring from all 3 levels, and he was showing, I'm legit, I'm that guy. Who cares if he's just a very good number 2? He was stepping up in those games. Brunson stepped up when RJ wasn't stepping up game 1. When Quickly wasn't. Josh Hart had to have a huge 3 down the stretch. When we won that game 1, I was like, we're winning this series. We just got momentum right here. And for us to beat the guy on the other end that we were supposed to get that offseason, the Knicks are going to lose to the guy they should have gotten. No, Brunson put that to sleep because he's like, I beat this guy before. But seeing RJ figure it out after game 1 and game 2 of that Cleveland series was awesome, was more patient. Was better offensively, better defensively. He looked smarter as a player. He played so well in the playoffs up until game 6 of the second round versus Miami that he only made 1 field goal. Still scoring double digits because he got to the free throw line. But that was very heartbreaking because it was like, damn, if the upside was, like if RJ stepped up, who knew what would happen in that game 6? But the reality was he didn't. Julius Randle didn't. Randle did enter that playoffs with an injury and re-injured himself in the Cleveland series in game 5 that we were able to close out. By the way, shout out to Obi Toppin. Knocked down 3 in the corner, start the second half, had 12 points in that basketball game. So Obi does deserve credit for definitely that elimination game, getting out and running. But seeing Josh Hart get Obi involved, and I just love seeing the overall heart of this team, no pun intended. But Grimes, yeah, he wasn't scoring much offensively, but he was playing hard defensively, young player. They were doing a good job rushing quickly offensively because he likes to play patient. So he was struggling. Eventually got hurt in the Heat series. Randall played well in the first half. There's some questions if he was going to play at all. Struggled in the second half. But it was like we're scared a little bit. We had this very successful playoffs. Like, we're excited, no doubt about it. I'm not mad that we lost in the second round, especially from what we've seen in the past. There's a disappointment factor. But Brunson at least went out with tons of heart, 41 points in game 6. I know we had the turnover, but he's the only reason we're in this game. Maybe he should have made the kick out pass to Josh Hart. Was Randall committing enough to go to the basket? So there definitely was positives to take away, no doubt about it. But it was like Randall didn't step up in the playoffs again, and there's Brunson this time. But there's still a lack of movement in the offense. There still is. There has to be sacrifice. Randall has to take less threes this year. I think Grimes should get more touches. RJ, maybe his touches can stay the same, but it needs to be an equal amount so everyone's more in constant rhythm. But when you just take a look at this team, Randall's a terrific regular season player. RJ Barrett did show that he could elevate his game in the playoffs a little bit. Again, he struggled in game 6, but it was a little up and down. It's kind of similar to the prior season. You want to see him be more consistent defensively. You want to see that shot more consistent. Did improve as a shooter or a finisher. I will give RJ Barrett that. We'll see what happens this upcoming season. And I know it was like the first time we went to the second round of the playoffs since 2013, but the Knicks are going to have to look at it this way. Obviously, we'll get to that road when we do get there. Hopefully, it's not a position that the Knicks are like losing the first round, second round a couple years in a row, because you don't want that level of mediocrity. So when you look at this team, you have guys that can compete now and help you win games now, but you also have a future, so it's more exciting than the 2013 team. But then also the reality is Jalen Brunson may be even better this upcoming season. He's in his prime. He's 27 years old. Randall's nearly 30. You have Grimes, who's young. It was just his second year in the league last year. He's entering his third year. RJ Barrett's still a young player. Mitchell Robinson's young when it comes to the starting lineup. I think a couple years is going to say a lot, or especially this upcoming year, RJ entering year 5, that the Knicks may look at RJ as like, he's a good player, but Brunson is in his prime. He's 27 years old. He's not getting any younger. We want to build a longevity, consistent winner. We're still going to do our due diligence with the trade to make sure we don't give up a lot. But when you're trading for a big fish, you're going to have to give up a good amount. But it's like, yeah, we want to be good now and also compete because we don't want to give up draft picks for a player or a star and give up a complimentary player. And it's like we're in the same spot. That's like the worst nightmare. And then you have no future. You just have nothing at all. And I've seen that, obviously, as a Knicks fan, seeing all those years of struggles to take like 8 years to finally go to the playoffs again. But if the Knicks look at RJ as just a solid player that maybe can't elevate his game as much anymore, at least physically, maybe IQ wise, the Knicks are probably going to be exploring options, or maybe have already explored options. I'm not sure who that next star is going to be. They've obviously monitored Karl Anthony Towns and Joel Embiid, but the Knicks definitely need more upside. You need stars. Jalen Brunson's a star. Randall's a star in the regular season. You could explore shopping him as well if he doesn't step up in the playoffs again. His IQ. I like the players on this roster. And do they look at Grimes as, oh, maybe he's just a really solid bench player that's a starter? But I feel it's very too early to judge Grimes. Again, it depends how much he gets involved. But I do feel need that guy that's 3-and-D, doesn't do too much, and could play within structure. And I feel that's where some people aren't really in love with. RJ Barrett isn't fantastic in playing in structure, but there's also not much structure as well. So we'll see what goes on to happen. But I feel it's going to be a big year for RJ. It's going to be a big year for Randall. And my stance on Tom Thibodeau, he's definitely the guy that comes in, sets the culture, gets the guys to play hard for each other. But then also at the same time, it's not to the point, if our roster gets to the point, if we add a star and it's like we're still losing, like we continue to lose in the second round. Again, we just went to the second round for the first time since 2013. But if it becomes a constant theme, it's like we're kind of going all in. We add this other star next to Brunson, and who knows who stays, Randall or RJ. Maybe both of them are gone. I hope not both of them are gone. But it's like, damn, we're in the same spot. Tibbs, you get these guys to play hard defensively, but even sometimes your defensive system is a little ancient. There's not a good amount of movement. And the Knicks are going to be stuck in a spot because they've just had so many failed head coaches that it's like Thibodeau finally brings stability, which we got to give credit to Leon Rose for. Most stability we've had for a good amount of time when it comes to the head coaching position. But the Knicks also can't think of like, damn, what if that guy's not as good as Tibbs or he just sucks? But that's the business. You take the risks if you want to be a very good team. You need to make things make things more modern in the offense. But I feel it's going to be a big year for RJ. It's going to be a big year for Randall. Again, due to personnel, Mitch does get a little more judged than I think he should. But I understand he says he's going to develop this hook shot. He never does. But adding DiVincenzo, who could shoot the three ball, good cutter, excellent defensive player that can get this team out and running, because we thought the team might not run as much with Obi Toppin gone. I think it's going to be an exciting team. We'll see if we go to the second round of the playoffs, and you never know in the East with the whole James Harden drama right now. The Milwaukee Bucks, obviously, they got Damian Lillard. Take a look at a team like the Miami Heat. They lost Gabe Vincent. They lost Max Strus. Jimmy Butler's getting older, but they still have Eric Spoelstra, and you can never predict what's going to happen with injuries. I'm not hoping for injuries at all. But when you look at this overall team, how excited are you? I like what the Knicks are building. Eventually, we're going to have to get another star, especially to pair alongside Jalen Brunson, and we can't be afraid to pull the trigger, but I want us to do our due diligence and look towards the future and also look now so we're not stuck in a terrible position. But I think it's going to be a huge year for Grimes. He's definitely going to be a big part of how big the upside is on this Knicks team. If he averages more points, does he get up to 15 points per game? Will he have that role? He's going to become even more disciplined as a player, adding DiVincenzo as a shooter. But I feel we do need more shooters. We need more IQ players and maybe a little more length and athleticism. But maybe some concerns I have with Randall, like IQ-wise, now he steps up in the playoffs. That may be gone after the season. Maybe Randall steps up in the playoffs. Maybe you're joking yourself, Noah, but you just never know what's going to go on to happen. Because pressure situations say a lot about players. And I'll also say Tom Thibodeau does get too much hate to the point that it's like, you can't control. Randall keeps making this same bad decision. Maybe he's telling Randall not to make that same bad decision. But Thibodeau also can't affect like Randall's IQ out there on the floor. And if we're being real, Thibodeau hasn't been dealt like amazing rosters that they should have championship aspirations. It's not like maybe an Eric Spoelstra, but maybe if a different coach took over this roster, do they go past the second round? I don't think so. But I'm not in love with Thibodeau. I think he's a solid coach. But I like what the Knicks are building. I think they definitely have some things they need to work on more. We need more high upside players here. It's not like I don't like what the Knicks are building at all. But let me know down below your thoughts. Peace out, y'all.